Let's take a look at how my vertical spinning melty brain RUD performed at ARC's June meet. Our first fight up is actually a good one for us because with the new changes to RUD, including the weapon mounting system, I didn't really want to fight someone with a really big weapon first up because they had the potential to completely wipe me out for the rest of the day. And thankfully we didn't. We fought a robot called Lifty McLifterson, a lifter, surprisingly enough, thrown together for this event.
3, 2, 1, fight.
Okay, so, I mean, the start of that fight was all right. We got up to speed, I got the weapon spinning, everything seemed to be going well. I got a good first hit off of them, which was really good. It was kind of a weird pinball-y hit, so I think the robot actually took double the shock because I kind of like pinballed off one wall straight into them, which wasn't great in the grand scheme of things, but it was a decent hit at least. And then got to get the robot back up to speed again and made a piloting error and drove it into the wall, pinballing us off the wall and kind of getting away from where we were, kind of almost back towards them. But the problem with that was in those exchanges with the walls, the Melty lost heading somehow, and I don't know how this is happening. This is the same code I have been running for a while now, at least a year. It's the same code and the same electronics in everything. I haven't really updated this basically since I put verts on my Melty, and this bug has been consistent throughout. So I need to go in there and fix it, and in actual fact, I think I'm going to overhaul the entire system because every time this bug comes up, it has the same thing. The heading light goes wild. Instead of having 1 or 2 or 3 heading LED signals, it just kind of flickers all over the place, and I don't really understand how and or why this happens. I am hazarding a guess it's to do with the fact that the Melty brain only looks at how the wheels are spinning to determine how fast it is going, and I think a signal gets crossed somewhere and the speed of the wheels is not being correctly sent to the brain, and then everything just falls apart. Power cycling the robot does fix that, but obviously you can't power cycle in the middle of a fight. And unfortunately, I can't do anything about it. I mean, I did try in this fight to spin down and then spin back up again to see if that would fix the problem. It didn't. And realistically, all I got from my troubles there was being pinned into the corner by Lifty McLifterson. And then basically the end of this fight was me trying to get a heading and not getting a heading and being bounced into the pit. Lifty McLifterson has a very, very big plastic scoop, a big TPU printed scoop. So I wasn't really doing any damage to that. I was basically just bouncing off of it more so than a Melty brain bounces already when it hits things. And he very expertly bounced me over towards the open pit and got me down, which means we lost that fight. And next up, we are fighting something that I was basically talking about before. We are fighting Harbinger. This is a very, very, very big vertical spinner.
3, 2, 1.
Yikes. Okay, so that was interesting. First of all, to start the fight was actually kind of good for us because he got stuck on the other side of the arena, so that meant I had time to spin up, get the weapons up to speed, get everything where I wanted it to be. Once I had everything where I wanted it to be, the translation still wasn't great. Definitely, while fixing the bug that's in here, I want to work on the translation. I can definitely get better translation out of this, and I just have not got that. But that bad translation meant that the first collision here was later into the fight than I want it to be, and both of us were spinning at basically full tilt there, which meant that we had a nice big explosive collision, and I love those. I don't think I got the better of it though, because I came out of that shot missing a belt on one of my drive systems, which I didn't think should have been possible. There should be enough tension in these belts and enough lips on my pulleys to make that not be possible. So that must have been a colossal hit. Then of course we have the second hit, which was a fairly decent hit as well, and immediately after that second hit, the can on the motor that lost the belt ejects from the Melty brain. So I think in actual fact what happened in that first hit is that the motor itself like bent inwards or something, allowing that belt to release. It's very possible that that one was slightly over tightened, which meant that there was a pressure on that motor to push in that direction, and it's kind of like pushed everything together, released the belt, and then on the second hit, whatever weakness was in that motor exacerbated, and then spinning back up to speed, it just goes boop, and flies off at the wall. And after this fight, because I tunnel vision hard in these fights, I just kind of assumed when I was fighting that weapon motor, the can of that weapon motor came off during the hit, but it certainly was after the hit when I reviewed the footage. It also has a nice little ding in it, and I thought that that was from Harbinger hitting it, and I was like, how on earth did you manage to hit the back of a spinning weapon with a weapon that's insane? But no, I actually hit it myself. Once it had popped off while I was melting, I translated into it and sent it careening across the arena, which I think would cause the actual damage that I saw to the can. I think what actually happened with this motor is that the shaft in it was weak. It seems to have sheared through the shaft in the actual motor itself, which is not good because I don't know how to fix that. I feel like I need stronger motors, but I don't have the weight or space really to put stronger motors on the edge of the robot, which is going to be a problem to fix. Surprisingly though, at this point, missing a belt and a can of a motor, I am still running, and the meltying is still meltying pretty well. I would have thought that losing that can and that belt would unbalance everything enough that it wouldn't melty correctly, but I was wrong. It was still tracking heading well enough for me to do some minor movement with the translation system, and the fight kept going. Long enough to get one more massive shot off where we both went flying. I got thrown into the glass and flipped upside down. He ended up kind of on his back on his weapon effectively, but that was the end of RUD because somehow in that hit, he turned something off. Or I think, in actual fact, what happened is that there is a button which turns the brain of this board into bootloader mode. I have it very well protected at this point. I think that shot was just big enough to blow through all the protections that I have and cause it to be pushed, because power cycling the robot turned everything back on and the heading light turned back on and everything. So it seems as though it was literally just, the board went into bootloader mode somehow after that massive shock. But that's fine. I mean, I was down a weapon motor anyway. I couldn't spin really, and I probably would have just called it at that point anyway. So we lose that fight in a fairly spectacular fashion, really. So with 2 fights from our round robin group down, we are on to the third and final fight for the day, and that is up against Zim, a full body spinner.
3, 2, 1, fight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, that was quick and disappointing in a couple of different ways. First of all, I got the Melty up to speed, but the heading light was now not tracking properly. It was giving me 3 separate heading lights, which means that the robot does not know where it is, and I think this is due to the unbalance. I have no idea how the Melty managed to spin correctly while it was unbalanced in the Harbinger fight, but in this fight, it gave up the ghost and was not tracking at all properly. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know how I feel about this one. I didn't need to translate in this fight because Zim exploded. Effectively, Zim, being a full body spinner, has a motor on a little arm and spring to kind of push the arm into the outer wall and keep the whole outer shell spinning, and that system broke, forcing the motor into the wrong spot and just kind of tweaking everything and jamming everything up and lifting Zim's wheels off the ground, high-siding them effectively. So we won that fight, not really by our own hand. And in actual fact, if Zim had worked at all properly, we probably would have lost that fight because there was not much I could do when I can't Melty correctly. And with that, we got knocked out of the round robins and basically did not make it through into the finals. So all that was left was the Rumble, and even though I knew that I wasn't going to get a good Melty heading, I threw into the Rumble anyway, just to see if we could take that little bit more damage.
Say stop the match.
One fight.
I'm very stuck. I have 2 weapons.
Well, you've only got 1, really.
Yes.
So that was a fun Rumble, but because everybody got jammed up and stacked on each other so quickly, I didn't really end up taking that much more damage. I did go weapon to weapon with the other Melty that was in there, and there is more about that Melty coming in the near future, or the further future, you'll find out when we get there. But I did go weapon to weapon with that Melty and was okay, pretty much. There's not really any extra damage on the robot that wasn't caused by Harbinger. But that was still a fun little rumble. Which means we are at the end of the event. I will say though that I really want to do a teardown of this robot, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do that on stream. So keep an eye on my channel. There should be a stream notification come up for you at some point in the near future. I wanna do it within the next like 4 or 5 days. I wanna do it pretty soon so that I know what I need to fix on this thing before the big event of the year comes up, which is ARC's Havoc, which I definitely want to get this thing working on all cylinders for. So we definitely want to pull this thing apart, make sure everything is okay inside, try and fix some issues in this. But I think the hardware is getting pretty close to good at this point, but I don't know for sure, hence the stream where we're going to tear the whole thing down and just check every little piece as we go through. That's going to be it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed that one, and I will see you in the next video.